Ready for a lightning party. If you thought the last episode was good, this episode is much better. All right, so I'm in complete frantic mode, although I'm a little bit more calm right now because what I've got is, well, you can see it right there. So I've got my RP and R6 going, both time-lapsing. But what I want to do for you guys is I want to show you that yes, you can photograph with a smartphone. So we're gonna need to, I want to get this set up for you guys. I'm going to use, today's video is sponsored by Joby. So Joby sent me this whole vlogging kit. I'll go over that in a little bit when we're not so frantic, like in the studio or something. But I'm gonna be using this Joby thing and I'm gonna attach it to this guy here. And I'm gonna see if we can't get some amazing lighting with the phone, and I'm gonna walk you guys through everything that I'm doing. So let's get set up. All right, so that is mounted. I don't know how well you can see that. Camera lady is not here, so I can't do any B-roll. So we're just gonna cut to the good stuff. I'm gonna put you guys over here and hopefully we can see what the heck is going on. Where's my thingy? There's my thingy. Okay, bring it in. Bring it in. This is a very intimate lightning photography bit here. Okay. All right, so let me get out the phone. This couldn't have been a better location. I have the beautiful city, I have the mountains. I'm so stoked. So the only thing is we got to make sure that this Joby pod stays. It's not the most secure thing. I would use a regular tripod, but all my tripods are in use because I'm using one and I've got 2 other cameras filming and I left my 4th one in the car. So let me, you know what, let's get this screen recording going first. All right, so we're gonna go into pro mode. No, not pro video. Pro photo. Where the heck is pro photo? There it is. Okay. So that's not very, I mean, that's super wide. So we'll go ahead and try it. I want my ISO all the way down to 50. I want manual focus. I'm gonna use that infinity there. I don't know if you saw that, that was out of camera, but the wind just blew this 1 to 400 over and I caught it as it was blowing over. So we're gonna keep that a little closer to me now. And I'm just gonna turn that off for a second. Okay, these winds are getting seriously insane. So we are 30 seconds, ISO 50, and it's showing us we're +2 over, so that's good. So we can bring it down to 8, 4. I want it a little bit underexposed. I'm gonna go with 2 seconds. And I would just want to make sure that this is in focus. I'm gonna take a couple of test shots real quick. We're gonna take a look. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna just double check. That's a little blurry, but it's hard to tell if it's because of focus or because of Oh, geez, did you see that? That was so bright. Okay, so we want to underexpose this. So I'm gonna go with 1 second. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I've got my settings. Rather than hold this here, I'm gonna open up the intervalometer app. All right, start infinity. So that's going now, all set up. So it's gonna be 1 second interval, ISO 50, 1 second shutter speed, manual focus, pro mode. This is gonna make a time lapse. Either we're gonna render the time lapse or we're just gonna pull our favorite bolts from the series. Okay, so before we get into it, let's go over today's sponsor real quick, and I'm gonna do a giveaway. So if you guys wanna win this, we'll talk about that in a second. So what is it that we have? Joby sent me this kit here, and it's just their GorillaPod vlogging kit. So you guys know, if you follow my channel, I do, when I'm using all my cameras like this and it's frantic, I usually pull out my phone and I'll vlog for you guys that way. So having something like this, is nice, because being able to, attach it to the phone and then walk around and have this little extra guy for stability and the little light and all of that stuff. So being able to have those little extras, like it comes with a microphone, very Rode Video Micro-ish. There's a lot of these third-party ones floating around these days, but they all do the same thing. So they're a shotgun-style mic, and very good with the included dead cat with the wind screen to keep, especially you guys see how windy it is where I film, so having something like this is very handy. And then I haven't used it the last couple times because I've been so frantic and stuff, but having the light to help with the illumination, so that looks a lot better, fill light, that kind of stuff. And then being able to have it just all in one is pretty convenient. This is also magnetic, so that's kind of nice, the magnetic back. Very Lume Cube feeling, which you guys know I use Lume Cubes a lot. But it's a good little light to have, and they just have everything in one kit. So they have all these different plugs. Here's one for an iPhone to connect, your microphone to an iPhone or whatever. The only thing that I will say that they didn't have in the kit, they had all the cords, except for they didn't have an adapter to go to USB-C. So my phones, the S20, the S21, the newer Pixels, all of that, they're all using USB-C. There's no more headphone jack. So you have to get something like, probably something like this. So that's just the adapter, for headphone to USB-C. But it's got everything in here. So if you guys want to win this, then leave me a comment down below and let me know. And then also make sure you go follow my Instagram at LightbendersVisuals, and I will pick a comment from random in about a week or so, and I will get this out to you. So if you enjoy vlogging on your phone, or you want to start vlogging, or you just need a good little all-in-one tabletop setup or whatever, this might be your jam. So yeah, comment down below, follow Instagram, LightbendersVisuals. Back to regular scheduled program now. It's looking like a lot of the stuff is gonna be back there. So sorry about the autofocus, this is bad. I think I'm gonna wanna change locations and go about a mile over there, because we're getting that stuff. I'm gonna wait here for a couple more minutes and see if we get anything. Whoa. I don't know if that got that or not. Oh, man. Well, I know my R6 got it. So this is, I haven't seen an electric storm this electric. Well, I got those shots that you saw in the last video, and then the ones for my birthday in Albuquerque the end of July, and it's now the beginning of August. So other than that, other than the one cell in Albuquerque that was pretty electric, this has been way more electric the past 20 minutes or so. I'm gonna hope that we get a couple more good bolts right here before I head over there with the phone. All right, well, those are my settings. I'm gonna wrap it up here, and then we're gonna go back into the studio and take a look at these, and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with them from the phone. Oh my God. All right, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we've got T, we've got the phone, check. Boy, you guys missed. So after, let's just say that getting too close to lightning is sketchy and ill-advised. So after I turned the camera off, I went a little bit closer to the storm. It was moving away from me to the south, and so I was going to the south even though it's still moving away, kind of, you know, following its tail end. I did not pay attention to the other one that was kind of behind it coming up to the side. So I got my cameras all set up and I was getting these shots. This was with the R5. And as I'm setting the phone up and I'm getting the time lapse going on the phone, it's just getting more intense. And so these shots, they are 14 millimeter on the R5 and they are not cropped. So I mean, I square cropped them just for composition, but you know, they're not zoomed in cropped at all. And they were, I mean, it was way too close. Like this is just like less than a mile away probably. It was like shaking me completely. So I set the time lapses up and then I got back in my car and then I backed my car up on this dirt road by like, you know, 100 feet or so. And I just waited. And then when I went back out there to check the time lapses, the phone had blown over. Like the wind was too strong for the phone on the time lapse. So I have some things to talk about with the phone, and we're gonna get into that. So let's pull up the images with the phones and talk about the bolts that I did get, and then I'm gonna go over some things that I've learned trying to capture lightning with the phones and give you guys some tips for if this is your only method is a phone of capturing lightning, then it's definitely different than my, you know, mirrorless or DSLRs or any, you know, bigger camera. All right, so now we're getting into the pro mode shots, the pro mode settings, and by this time the lightning had already kind of moved on out of the frame, but let's just scroll to, so we can see here it's getting really bright. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but let's find, we got a couple little, here we go. So we got the DNG and then we got the JPEG because the phone saves both when you do it in RAW and you can't change that. So that's fine. So let's just bring this camera RAW here. So we're in camera RAW and this isn't going to be a full editing tutorial because it's just not what this is about, and I'll go way too long if I do that. But I'm just going to do a couple of basic tweaks, and you know, the thing with the phone is I don't want to do too much because the phones they can't handle, especially this type of editing. You know, like if I were to try to bring my shadows up, like that looks horrible. Like look at that. That just looks as way too yuckies. So I'm not gonna bother trying to do that much with the phone. Maybe just a little bit. but I am just going to do a couple of basic tweaks. Just something like that. So that's looking, as long as we don't zoom in, I'm okay with that. So we're going to open this up. I mean, there it is. There's my first shot. I'm just going to go ahead and probably, that actually looks pretty cool. If we come in here, crop some of these crappy front houses out and just get maybe something like that. All right, whatever. That looks pretty cool. That also looks a little bit not straight, so I'm just going to use those college buildings there to straighten me up. There we go. So I think that's pretty good. So let's go look at, this isn't going to be a detail thing either, because like, come on, you know that my R5 and my R6 are going to crush this phone for detail. So I'm not going to, this isn't going to turn into a negative thing or a bashing thing. This is just talking about the differences. Some of those differences should be inherent. You know, we got some more bolts. So here is a good example of, let's talk about this for a second. Let's open this up. Let's open up the RAW and see if I can even pull this back at all, because that is so bright. This is why we shoot in RAW right here. So even though this is a phone, being able to bring that, I mean, look at that. That's where it was at, and that's completely blown out, and that's completely unusable to me, you know. But if we bring this RAW down, the fact that we're able to recover these highlights, that all of this area was blown out. I mean, look at that. That's what it was. And look at all this. There was data in there that RAW on that little phone sensor recovered. So that is really cool. I'm just going to go ahead and straighten this a little bit. There we go. So, like I said, I'm not going to do too much to this. I am going to crop in on this, though. I like this frame much better than that spot that I was at, turning south looking this way was just kind of a crappy angle, but it had good bolts and it had what I needed. So you'll notice, though, if we drop the highlights too much, we start seeing these blue haloing around the bolts, and we don't want that. Like, it looks kind of yucky. So I'm going to bring it up just a little bit, and I know we've got this blown out area, and that's just something we're going to have to deal with unless we feel like photoshopping it, which for the purposes of this tutorial, I don't really feel like doing. But what I'm stoked to see is the rain here and the lightning in that. That looks pretty good. So I'm just going to tweak this just a bit. I don't even really want to do that much to this anyways, because I think it's already looking pretty cool. So we're going to bring that up. I'm going to do a different size crop. Maybe a 3x2, which is standard for like regular cameras, you know. I'm going to crop a lot of that foreground out because I just don't like those houses. And I don't want to crop too much again because this is the phone, and again, the little sensor, like, they can't handle much. And obviously I wouldn't be printing this image out or anything, but for social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, like, I think that's awesome. I am just I'm gonna clone it. I'm gonna take out that, this is driving me nuts, this power line. All right, doesn't have to be perfect. That feels pretty good. So again, that's with my S20. Did I even mention that this is my S20 Ultra, not the S21 Ultra? So it doesn't matter what phone you have. It just matters that the phone you have can have manual controls. So some sort of pro mode or app that lets you control all of that stuff. So let's see if we can recover this one. Wow. See that? And that's way too blown out. It's also blurry. Look at that. So I don't know if that was because my focus messed up or if because the shutter, this was a 2-second shutter and it was kind of windy. I suspect though, because everything is blurry and the way that it's blurry, I suspect that that's a focus issue. So that's one of the big differences with the phone is, whoa, look how blown out that is. The phone was really hard to focus. So that might be doable. Notice how when I bring up the shadows, look at this crushed detail, all of that. So the bringing up the shadows like that in the phone is just ill-advised. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. Again, I don't want to do too much to this. Maybe just give it a little boost in saturation, but even that is causing banding right there. So I'm actually just going to leave it. Maybe I'll do like 5. But that's causing some banding. So let's see if that's even in focus. That's more in focus than the last one, but it still looks blurry. Okay, so we're done with that one. This is definitely looking like the best one so far. All right, that's enough of this. Let's go to here we go. Okay, so remember this image. This is the same shot. So I will put these two up side by side. So there's my highlights reduced all the way, and there's my whites brought down all the way. Let's talk about this for a second. So on the left we have the R5 with the 14mm, and on the right we have the phone. So this phone is just, all I did was reduce the highlights. Let's take a look at one more thing real quick, and I'm going to show you. This might blow your mind just a little bit. This is where we're going to be seeing the difference. And I'm not bashing the phone, because you just have to know what you're getting into and whatever you're shooting with is capable of. So here we go. Here's the raw image of the 14mm from the phone, from the R5. I'm going to reset this. That is what I was working with. This was my raw, straight from the camera shot from the R5. So you can see we've got a little bit of blown out here. This was like 7 stops underexposed. Okay, because I was so close. Again, that's stupid. Don't ever get this close to lightning. I will not do that again. Not purposely anyways. I was so close to the lightning, and the lightning was so bright that if I were to exposed for any of the land or whatever, when the lightning hit, it would have looked like that phone shot. This right here is the raw, so I can bring that down. Look at that. I've recovered every single bit of those highlights right there. Now watch this. I'm going to bring up this exposure by over 2 stops. I'm going to drop my highlights and my whites all the way. Now we're starting to see the ground. Now I'm going to bring up my shadows. So this is, again, this isn't like, I wouldn't print this image the way that I've edited it. because we're still seeing noise and we're still seeing coloring artifacts and, you know, stuff like that. That's pretty gnarly. But what we're not seeing is the amount of image degradation as the phone. The fact that I could boost that by 2 full stops and then boost my shadows by, you know, I'm at plus 56, you know, I mean, there's plus 100, and you're starting to see the magenta fringing and breaking down, but you still have decent detail. I mean, look at that. This is what mirrorless cameras are capable, good mirrorless cameras are capable of. And I haven't even cleaned this up yet. If I were to clean this up and bring down the magentas and do some noise reduction and stuff like that, then we get the image that I ended up with. So the whole takeaway here is that yes, because the mirrorless and DSLRs they have larger sensors, better lenses, all that kind of stuff, you're able to recover much better usually. And so when we have this comparison here, this shot on the left on the R5 was 3.2 seconds at ISO 100 at f8, and this phone shot was at 1 second ISO 50, and of course we can't change the aperture. The aperture is wide open on the phone, which is f1.8, but do not let that number fool you. Because of the size of the sensor, that ratio is much different. That's more like equivalent to f10 on a bigger camera. So we're just going to say it's around f10 for the aperture, ISO 50, which is the lowest it can go on the phone, and 1 second, which was 2.2 seconds faster than this R5 shot. And what I'm getting at here is that I'm letting in a lot less light on the phone, but look how much the phone has blown it out. So that makes it really difficult to gauge proper exposure, and basically you just, when the bolts are this big and you're that close, or you're zoomed in enough to the bolts are that big, if you have a telephoto on or something on the phone, you need to underexpose much more than you think is necessary. Like the screen is going to look totally black, but then you're going to come out with bolts looking like this on the left versus looking like this. And that was the deal with these. Let me put these back real quick. You know, that was the deal with these, is that underexposing, like I knew that I was already a couple of stops underexposed, and that's looking great for the bolts. Now, if you wanted to get more technical, you could then go in and take another shot and expose for your foreground. It's just not going to have the same, and then you can blend those together. It's not going to look maybe totally legit or whatever, but that's subjective. It's not my call. But I'm happy with these couple of images that I got from the phone. And right after this image from the phone, that's when we had that big gust of wind, and it like blew my phone tripod away. So I didn't bother running back out there. It was too dangerous. I didn't want to go set anything up. I just stayed in the car, stayed back, and, and stayed alive. But I did get some cool shots out of it. So let's wrap this up. Phone versus DSLR versus mirrorless, whatever. Phone versus big boy camera. Again, this wasn't to bash it. This was to show that different cameras, you know, between the phone and the big boy cameras, require different techniques for getting the lightning. And you can get the lightning. You just have to keep in mind what you're shooting on and know its limits, and it's going to take trial and error. A lot of people ask me, what were your exact settings for this or that? And you just can't do that because everything is different. Every condition is different. The lights are different. The cameras are different. Everything is different. So I can give you ballparks, but I can give you the guidance for what to look for. And when you're in a storm like this and you're on your phone and you're trying to get good shots, the best thing you can do is if you get a bolt, you look at it immediately. Was that too bright? Okay, bring it down. So keep underexposing. And then you walk it down into the range until you get something acceptable. It's also good to practice your editing, because the more you edit with whatever you're shooting on, the more you know what you can get away with in post. And you know, that is a testament to these shots, what I just showed you, being able to pull those highlight back. I didn't think that the phone would have enough data in there for me to do that, but it did. So knowing that, I can move forward and kind of guesstimate a little better for the next time that I'm shooting. So, all right, that's it. I'm gonna wrap it up. Hopefully you guys got a good view of, or a good idea of how I do things in field with the phone and setting it up and all that screen capturing stuff, and then a little bit of how things work on the post end. I have other tutorials for how to capture lightning in general for, you know, the other cameras. I also have other tutorials on how to blend lightning so you can get shots like this. They're all on there. They're all on the channel. So, but if you have any other questions that I missed or didn't go over, or that you want to know concerning lightning and phones and cameras or whatever, leave those in the comments below and I will definitely answer them. Thanks for watching. Enjoy these time lapses. I will see you in the next episode. Very thankful didn't get zapped. So cheers to that.